All's right with the world last night in Los Angeles. Anthony Rizzo back in his customary third spot in the lineup, 1 for 4 with a double, a run scored. Most important thing is self-confidence. Here's what he told reporters before the game about wanting to hit third. It's more, to be honest, an ego thing. I've never hit second in my life. You think of your second hitter of the game as someone who gets guys over, bunts, slaps, and whatnot. I think our lineup doesn't call for me hitting second personally. You see a lineup like the Cardinals, you see Beltran hitting second. That's because he has nowhere else to really hit. They don't want him 7th or 8th. But I was there, and I tried to make the best of it. Swaim says it best. It's just a spot in the lineup. I didn't like it that much. All right, here's my question. Rizzo shouldn't complain too much about hitting second. 5 games there, he hit .292, had an on-base percentage of .393. But should he be concerned with where he is hitting, Mark?
Well, first of all, it sounds like he thinks, number 2 hitters are little wimpy guys, basically, is what he's saying. Little guys who bunt people over.
And the sabermetrician should say the best hitter in your lineup should be in the 2 hole.
Really? Well, he obviously looks at it more traditionally, where it is a little guy hitting second. But, I mean, a guy who's hitting .230 right now and not knocking in most of the base runners in clutch position. I realize he's got close to 70 RBIs now, but hitting with runners in scoring position has been a problem for him. Hitting for average has been a problem for him. So he's lucky he's not getting a few days off, actually. So
he's out of the lineup tonight, by the way. Clayton Kershaw.
Well, and so, hitting third, I mean, that's the deluxe spot in the order. So he's living a charmed life and lucky enough to be hitting third. So just take it, man.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the Cubs got so many more problems than that. I hope that he's not really all that concerned about it. That what he was doing was just kind of chatting it up, because whether you're batting second or third on this team, I mean, that's about 98th on your to-do list.
Well, I suppose too, but to add your point, I guess it would kind of stink to be on that team and not be able to hit third. To be on a team that is that bad and not be able to hit third.
I love Anthony Rizzo. Yeah. He's been on the show a bunch. I have a great relationship with him. But I think if I was advising him, I would have said to the reporters, look, do I like hitting third? Yeah, I prefer it. But I'm hitting .231 or whatever he's hitting. I'm probably just going to hit wherever they tell me, and hopefully I turn things around.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear about Anthony Rizzo's ego being affected by moving up in the order to the 2 spot. I always appreciate honesty from athletes.
But when they give it to us, we rip them.
Well, right. And that's what I'm going to do right now.
That's why. Keep talking, Rizzo, Anthony.
Yeah, I know. Keep talking. We love it, but he really should just be keeping his head down. Hit where they tell you to hit. Yeah, I understand he likes the 3-hole better, but you've been so bad this year, or I shouldn't say bad, but average. You can't complain about that. He should be worried about other things. That being said, keep it coming, Anthony. We love it.
Do you think that? I think the Cubs talk about. I think to some degree too. I think the Cubs have confused him, because at the beginning of the year, it sounded like they wanted him to hit more home runs, and that's what he did. And when he first came up, he was so good at just going with the pitch to hit, hitting that ball into left field, going opposite the field, and then he started to try to hit home runs. I think the Cubs have sort of confused him, trying to figure out his role, and he's felt compelled to hit home runs, and then the averages dropped and the runners in scoring position too.
Him and there was a lot of things going on with Starlin Castro, and now all of a sudden we're wondering if he's got the right mental approach to be the player that everybody thought he was going to be. And I often, this always makes me wonder, is this about the Cubs organization? I remember when I was this high, my uncle used to tell me, the problem with the Cubs is the organization doesn't develop what they have, because they don't have clean messages the way you see with the successful organizations, Cardinals, Dodgers historically. And the Cubs, this is sort of an example when you see Castro having the issues that he's had this year, and now, little things, little warts on Rizzo. These are 2 guys that are supposed to be cornerstones of the turnaround
bring up a great
down
point,
the road.
Because this season going into it, really, what did we say? The most important thing was the development
of Rizzo and Castro.
Yeah. So,
and some margin.
Or do you say Javier Baez and Danny Vogelbach?
Right, and Rock Shoulders. Don't forget him too. But that makes this year unsuccessful. Even though they were able to stock up their minor league system, they drafted Chris Bryant, they added some pitchers at the trade deadline. But when it comes down to it, those 2 guys took a step backwards this year. They're 2 most important players that you mentioned are the cornerstones of that franchise. So by definition, this is not a successful season, no matter what happens here on out.
And it's not. I don't know that it's on the players, because the staff, the people.
You got to blame the players.
Well, you got to blame the players, but when you're giving messages to guys, we want you to hit more home runs. I forget now what was the Castro. They wanted him to take a different approach. They
wanted to be more patient. Yeah.
Be more patient, which is a good thing.
I put it on the player.
Well, there's such a pattern of that in in the Cubs organization. You look. I mean, I always wonder. I always say, if Starlin Castro had come up with the Cardinals, would he have these issues? You know, maybe. But if he did, they would have traded him when his stock was this high. I know I've heard people around town saying, well, maybe they should trade him, you know, before everybody realizes. And the guy that we saw when he first came up, you're not trading that guy. But now, you know, you've opened that door. You've opened that question.
I will say this about Dale Swaim. He's the first Cubs manager in my lifetime that has not had expectations. This is a manager who has zero. Nobody expects anything from him because they're so ruled by Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer and the higher-ups who are saying, hey, we're cool with a 100-loss season.
Will he be the manager 2 years from now?
Man, it would really suck for him if he wasn't. You know what I mean? That would just be
I'm not sure he will be.
Kick down low for that guy.
All right, the most profitable team in the history of baseball of all time, the 2013